Hey everyone, Christian and I welcome you back to Mondays with Mindy, season 2.
Could you believe it?
We did it, kiddo. How else to launch our new season but with one of my first ever co-stars? She and I met when we were both in our tweens and worked together for the next 10 years.
Wow.
Besides working and going through some of our most formative years together, we are also obviously the dearest of friends. Maybe not so obviously, but we truly are the dearest of friends. We call each other sister. She has become one of my most trusted touchstones, advisors, and confidants. She's a wonderful actor, a powerhouse of a producer, director, and mother of two of my most favorite humans on the planet. A wife, entrepreneur, and now lifestyle podcaster. Of course, I'm talking about the force that is Kim Fields. Kim has been working as an actress practically her whole life. Before The Facts of Life, she had already done numerous commercials, guest spots, and another series, which is what I recognized her from when I met her, called Baby, I'm Back,
I didn't know
with
that.
Denise Nichols. Yeah, it went for a couple seasons there. Post Facts, she went on to co-star in another hit sitcom, one wasn't enough, called Living Single. She's never stopped working and has even done stints on reality television, a season on the Bravo Housewives of Atlanta, and Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
She moved into directing and has been at the helm of numerous hours of television, and last year produced and starred in the Lifetime movie You Light Up My Christmas, in which she got Lisa, Nancy, and me to do and come and film some cameos. Only she could get us to do that, let me say. Well, I guess I should say yes to the answer to the question that always comes up. We will always, all four of us, will always and forever want to work together. So any producers out there who have a suggestion, we're game. While she and her husband, Chris, have been raising their two sons, Sebastian and Quincy, they've also co-created and launched their successful coffee line, Signature Blends. Once we are able to go back to working, Kim will resume shooting a new sitcom for Netflix. It's called The Upshaws, and it is starring Wanda Sykes and Michael Epps.
Nice.
Christian, let's get this conversation started with my soul sister, shall we?
I think we shall. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the season premiere of season 2 with our very special guest, the very talented Kim Fields.
Hey.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, guys. Hi, girl.
Hi, love bug.
How are you?
So good to see you. I'm good. I'm really good.
Yeah.
So, welcome to Mondays with Mindy. Christian and I, during this time of COVID, I'll just remind everyone out there how this came to be. One of the things that I missed was just talking and being with fellow creatives. And so we kind of decided to have conversations about it. So we start each episode by in our fabulous, little canister of secrets made by Johnny Adler. We randomly pick 5 questions and just kind of start from there. We'll do a high dive.
Okay.
All right.
So here we go.
All righty. Oh, geez.
What assumptions do people make about you that are wrong?
That I'm always happy. That ain't nothing bothering me. That I don't go through anything.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, not true.
Yeah, you're a human.
Ditto.
You've got some feelings too.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't let the face fool you. What is the best advice you've been given, and who gave it to you?
Oh, well, I've got a lot of great people in my village, present company included. But I think one of the best pieces of advice was from beloved Blair Underwood, who said, "Don't be a blessing blocker."
Ooh.
Huh.
Yeah. He hit me square in the face with that one right there.
Yeah.
And where it came from was he said, "Kim, you don't like to ask for help, and you don't realize that people are standing by that, are there and ready, willing, and able to help you, that are part of your village. And when you don't let them, it's not a sign of weakness or a sign of vulnerability. There's strength in that acknowledgement, and there's a blessing because somebody is waiting to be a blessing to you by helping or by doing whatever it is that they do in your life." So that's been
For some odd reason, that resonates with me just a little.
Ditto.
Just a little.
I really like that, though. That's really wise.
Yeah.
I do
Go
too.
Blair.
I know. Thank you, Mr. Underwood. Miss
Yeah.
Cone is forever Grateful.
not just good looking, but also very wise.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, how irritating.
I call him my iron lighthouse because we both are from that. We're cut from that iron sharpens iron
Yeah.
Mhm.
mentality. But then also, he's just always been my lighthouse for over 30 years. Just when I'm in calm waters, when I'm in a raging storm,
Mhm.
whatever the case may be in my life, he is just always there as my beacon and my source of great light and strength.
Love that.
I love
Love
that.
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
What is your favorite place to travel and why?
Um, it's a tie.
Okay.
I love the Caribbean because I'm a water baby, and
Me
I
too.
love the islands. And my ancestry is traced back to, like most people of color, the islands and the Caribbean, but also Vancouver, as you know, Mindy. And I want to say that was one of the last times that I saw you actually in person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was when we were in Vancouver working. So I love working there.
Nice.
Same.
It's beautiful, beautiful city.
Mentioned that in the intro.
It's a
Okay.
beautiful, and then again, it's water.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Very true.
Yes.
any place that there's water.
Okay, this is going to be challenging for you, I know, and I won't hold you to it, but just in this moment, who is the most fascinating person you've met?
Mindy Cohn.
Oh, knock it off. Knock it off.
I don't get to
Uh,
say
Thank you, though. And by the way, in this time, I will so take it. I happen to be one needy bitch at this moment. Um, thank you. But truly, because I know many people have touched your life, and you've touched theirs. I mean, some pretty impressive people.
yeah.
Anybody come to mind off the top of your head?
Yes, and because it truly broke my heart when she left us unexpectedly, Zinzi Mandela.
Mm. Hmm.
A really wonderful human being and a dear sister friend, and has always intrigued me, has always been fascinating, and not just because her last name is Mandela.
Right.
Right.
All of the sacrifices that came with that as a child and young adult, and then carrying on legacy, and just the trauma that their family has been through, and then that her people have been through,
Yeah.
specifically in South Africa and everything. So all of that aside, she fascinated me also because of how she was a diplomat. She was an ambassador. She was also just, in spite of it all, had the most magnificent smile and laugh
Mm.
and spirit. So she always intrigued me.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay. Last one before we do a deep dive into creative process and
That ain't the
such.
deep dive.
Kim Fields, what scares you? Because you are quite fearless, I must say.
Well, thank you. I'd like to think that I am fearless. But in the quiet of my soul, if I
Mm-hmm.
really were to acknowledge it, it's dying young. Which
Oh,
I know it's like, well, bitch, you 51. So,
no, no,
Yeah.
no. I know what you're saying.
may
The
not
boy.
be a thing for you right now.
No, listen. You know that my motto since we were kids was
Yeah,
the best is yet to come. I still feel that
yeah,
way, and
Yeah.
yes, I know that you feel similarly. It's like you don't want to miss out on what's
yeah,
going to happen with the boys. You, yeah, I get
yeah,
it. I
yeah.
get it. I get it.
And when I really acknowledged that that was a fear of mine, when I saw the movie Evita
Mm-hmm.
with Madonna and Antonio Banderas, and when she, and I knew the story of Eva Peron, but just, in that moment, and I was in my late 20s, and I just cried and cried and cried and really connected with that sense. And of course, I don't let it rule me, and I don't live
Right.
in that sentiment. But that is something that, if I'm really grown woman about it, that's what it would be.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So, we've talked about in the intro the acting, the producing, the directing, the all of it, the company, being an entrepreneur.
Just a few
What
things
right
that you're
now in this?
involved in. Just a
Yeah,
few.
Yeah, just a couple of
Just a
things.
couple.
Jesus. I mean, I'm exhausted just watching you. Um, what or who inspires you right in this moment, right in this during this time, which I know is such a funky time, but what are you
Yeah,
inspired by
Erica
to
Badu.
create?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Um, Sorry, I didn't let you finish the question, but I think my answer would still be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I call her my creative compass, because she's just,
Talk about fearless.
I was going to say she's fearless in her own
yeah.
way, and just remains such a game changer and a trailblazer. And even in these moments of quarantine and everything else, this did a concert in her bedroom. Um, and had
And it was
millions
amazing.
of and it was amazing, exactly. And she broke all kind of records with that. And she wasn't
Yes.
setting out to do all of that. She was setting out to make sure that her and her family and her team kept
Kept
working.
Yeah.
working.
Because when you're a musician and your concerts, all your gigs are canceled, what the hell else can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're responsible for 50 people.
Exactly, exactly. And so what motivates her, her sisterhood, has
Hmm.
been a tremendous treasure to me for decades.
I do
Um,
have to fill Christian in a little that Kim has these touchstones that also happen to be not just iconic, but, I have such crushes, Erica being one of them. And of course, her dear friend Questlove, who I just want to have children with. I no longer can physically, but in my mind and in my soul, we could bear
yeah,
beautiful children together.
right. You truly could. You truly could. And
Uh,
Maxwell still blushes at the thought of knowing that you are such a fan. When I sent him
uh,
that,
Oh, I love
he was like,
Maxwell.
"Oh my God."
I mean,
This is
Kim just kind of name drops these people who are her creative brothers and sisters. I mean,
right.
it's not just a friendship, right? And it's just I sit here sort of in the corner like, I know her. I'm friends with her. Anyway, now I
Yeah,
know between the different mediums there are different creative processes that you go through, but just tell me some of your, as you define it, because everyone's different. What
yeah.
does your creative process involve?
Being prepared.
Mm,
Being prepared. I don't think that you can overstate that. Yes, you can over prepare, and so the freshness and the spontaneity and the adventure can get a little sucked out of the moment,
Sure.
if you are over prepared. Um, but I think overall, just I well, number one, I never want to be caught being unprepared, and I've instilled that in our kids, when they get ready for school or for class or for camp or for whatever it may be.
hmm
And that's a foundational tenet.
Yeah, very important.
Uh, but when I prepare, whether it's preparing for a role, a meeting,
hmm
I'm a craftsman. I love looking through that lens at myself, at life. I'm an adventurous craftsman. And so that means I love to prepare. You want to always be ready for whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
hmm Well, I also have to say this about you, and we've talked about this a lot. Uh, just how open you are to opportunities, and how,
Hmm.
um, first of all, generous you are about sharing those opportunities, but in creating them, that hustle. And for me, I feel hustle has gotten a bad rap. Because I do think there's something about being a craftsman, a journeyman, a gypsy,
Hmm.
creative, that you must be a hustler as well. You
Yeah.
must self generate. Yes.
Absolutely, you must. Even if you're not a creative, you could be corporate, but you better know how to hustle in the corporate
Yep.
world.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You have to now. When you cross the line and you're a criminal, that's too much hustle.
That's a different kind of hustle.
but
Kind
but
of hustle.
But Kim, you tread a line that I don't see often, which is that you have such a healthy hustle, but at the same time never cross the line of being too self-aggrandizing or self-promoting in a way that puts people off. And honestly, it's rare.
Yeah, I would
It's
agree.
just rare. And so I wonder what goes through your mind to
Mhm.
walk that tightrope.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sis, very much, because it is a conscious, intentional, yet very authentic part of my
Mm-hmm.
process with all of this. For example, I have the line of coffee, okay?
Yes.
And sometimes my team will be like, "Hey, can you post about this? Can you, do that?" And I said, "Listen, the coffee line is certainly strong enough product-wise to stand on its own
Right.
merit, but I have to be careful that I never look like I'm a peddler,
Right.
you know." And they've even said, "Do you see all the other celebrities out here that have product or this or a line or whatever, and they use their platform for all these things?" And I said, "Yes, I do. I completely see that." And that's why I'm not. I have to be very selective. It's being selective. It's being creative about it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you might see me drinking my coffee. My post a few days ago, and I was drinking a
Yes.
full cup of coffee that says Signature Blends by
Yes.
KF. So you certainly saw, and I tagged them,
Right.
but it's
Mm-hmm.
not me saying, on sale now and, that sort of
Yes.
thing. And so I just find that there are ways to be more subtle. It's like I told a dear friend of mine once, I really adore his acting style because it's like an iron fist in a velvet glove. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
I approach my branding
Mm-hmm.
opportunities and exposure and process. Is just like that, where you want to be really subtle but very impactful,
Mm-hmm.
so that number one, people want to see more, as opposed to, "Oh, would you go away and sit down
Mm-hmm.
somewhere?"
Right.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
know I feel that a lot about certain brands or celebrities or
Yes.
whatever.
Oh, yes.
And so it's really cherry picking. In certain relationship models, they call it build, pick your battles.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't battle, but definitely, I think you just have to be strategic about it,
Yeah.
and that's my
Um,
process.
yeah.
Makes
No,
sense.
I applaud it. And I'm always, that I always comment on it. Cause I just, I sure hope in my 50s I start to develop that, because I seem to be very, very, it's very easy for me to push people who I believe in forward,
Hmm.
and not myself. And
Yeah.
you are my example of that. Another example, I fell in love with theater as a fan very early on. My mother took us to theater, but because we've talked about it, your mother
Yeah.
is instrumental in me
Hmm.
having theater be my number one medium that I love.
Hmm.
And it obviously leads me to the question, thinking about your mom. Does where you grew up and whom you grew up around,
Hmm.
does that influence your aesthetic at all, or how you go about your business and your life?
Yes, but not in the way that one would think.
Mm-hmm.
Where I grew up in terms of Harlem and the creative legacy that is Harlem, from the Apollo, the Cotton Club, Lenox Lounge. I mean, just Minton's Playhouse. I mean, you can go on and on in terms of the actual venues
Right.
that were home to, and still home to great, great creatives and their masterpieces. Um, my own mother, like you mentioned, Chip Fields. My grandmother, who was a dancer at the Savoy and with Billy Eckstein and Pearl Bailey. My connection to Pearl Bailey. I mean, there's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about the aesthetic and being inspired in that way, sure, there are times when I go, I was born in the wrong period. I would be wearing clothes from the 40s and from the, and then, it's like, well, hold on, that was a nice period, clothing wise, but life wise, you don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
but my inspiration from my creative ancestors and birthplace
Mm-hmm.
is mostly in terms of, I don't want to let them down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and letting them down is not an option. and I don't feel it as a pressure. It's
Right.
not pressure at all or obligation. It's a desire. I desire
Mm-hmm.
not to let them down. I do not desire letting them down.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's really where it comes from in terms of those connections and how I'm inspired in that way. And even people that I've not met, Langston Hughes or Lorraine
Mm-hmm.
or just, James Baldwin, Nikki Giovanni. I mean, there's so many that you just go, yeah, I don't want to let you down, from
Yes.
my work ethic to my own visions to even quiet conversations that I had, like when we would go and visit, we went to visit Ruby Dee at her home
Mm-hmm.
not long before she passed. And, just those kinds of connections where you go, yeah, gotcha. I got it. Yep.
Yeah. I do have to say it's fascinating having just worked with, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying it like this, but like, I don't know how else to say it, like the younger generation. um, it seems there's just such little interest in the history of what we do and who's come before us and the knowledge of that. It seems to have stopped with us.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
Yeah.
And when I was working with these delightful, talented, lovely people, I would drop a name of a legend, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
and so it got into the habit where literally they would just say, I know Min, Google it. Because I'm like, please Google that and let's have coffee over it tomorrow, shall we?
Right. Right.
It was so frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, please Google this person. Like it's
Yeah.
necessary.
Mhm.
She's why you're here, truly. One of the reasons why you're here and doing this.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring,
With
Yeah.
that, right, Mind, if I may, I think part of our beautiful, and I get, responsibility can be a tricky word for some people, but I feel like that's a part of the goal, if not responsibility, is to make a healthy connection to history and to your own personal history or the history of whatever your industry is or your passion
right.
is. Because they feel like either, number one, we've been told so many lies in just quote unquote normal history that it's like, oh, forget about it, or history is written by whoever won.
Yeah.
That's who wrote history. But I feel like when people start making conscious decisions in terms of history from a different vantage point
Right.
and understanding how glorious those connections are, then the knowledge and the love for gathering that knowledge, I think, will be restored.
Listen, part of my excitement is to be the Geraldine Page or the Ruth Gordon or the Cloris Leachman for younger actresses that they were to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yep.
I'm excited by that. I don't have a fear of it. I'm welcoming it with open arms. You know?
You be, and you will walk. You ain't gonna be there for a long ass time, but when you do, you'll wear those shoes and walk in them beautifully. But you ain't there yet.
Thank you. Thanks, Lovey.
Mm-hmm.
Christian,
Yes.
I think now would be a great time to surprise Kim with our sponsor.
A little sponsor today. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have a official sponsor today. That is Signature Blends by Kim Fields. It full service.
You won't do it? We will.
Yeah, sorry. It is a full-service distributor of coffee, teas, and beverage-related supplies. They offer high-quality gourmet coffee, beverage services to corporations, small businesses, schools, hotels, farmers markets, local grocery stores, and, of course, you at home individuals. It was founded in 2017 by our very special Kim Fields in Atlanta. Signature Blends has set the bar for delivery. We love her coffee. We're sure you will, too. We encourage you to go to signatureblends.kf.com and shop for some today. We will also have that available on mondayswithmindy.com, where we've got some show notes, a little bit more information you can find out about Kim, learn more about all of her projects, because as we've mentioned, she has a few.
Many.
Exactly. You can connect with us.
And always will be.
Exactly. You can connect with us on the podcast. We're available on every major podcast player and network. We're also on YouTube, where you are watching us. If you are watching us, if you like what you're seeing, give us a thumbs up, hit the bell to subscribe, and come back next week. We're looking forward to starting our second season, and we're already off to a bang. So we're thankful that we've got Kim here today.
Thank you so much.
Please. It's what we do.
Yes, it is.
What do you splurge on, Kim?
That is hilarious.
Why? What's going on? What did you just get? What did you and Chris do?
No, that's
Oh.
what's funny because I frustrate the hell out of him on this because he's like, "Would you please go and buy some clothes? Would you please go and buy some shoes? Would you please go and buy this?" And I'm just like, "No, I'm good." Or it's like, I said, "Well, I went and I went to the surf. I love surfing. I mean, not surfing, no, because I never have. I love
Mhm.
shopping at surf shops."
Oh,
So not surfboard shops, but
right.
the apparel.
Yeah,
Right.
the beachy kind of. Yeah, no, I feel
Absolutely.
you.
I love that. So, like, I love wearing Billabong and Citizen of the Sea, and I'm always in Rip Curl and all that stuff. So, anyway, I told him, I said, well, I just spent like almost $1,000 in a whole bunch of stuff for me. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. He's like, do you realize that's like a drop in the bucket, but not really, considering all that you have to do and
Yes.
all that and but in a heartbeat, honey, I will be at
Oh, I've seen you turn it out. Okay.
every home store on the planet buying fruit bowls and like I'm out here at this little patio area at this
Yes.
boutique property right now, and I'm like, oh, look at these little tables, and but I would that's and outdoor living. Oh,
Yes.
that
Yep.
I would splurge on. So I bought this
Okay.
fabulous little curved day bed with yes, but that's my splurge.
Mm.
You and my mother, who by the way sends her love, her and dad,
And hi Nat, I love them so much.
they
But
love
that's
you
my
right back.
splurge. Thank you.
Um, okay, so I'm going to go there because when we're on anything like this, people want to go there. But
Sure.
I want to talk. I want you to talk about your trajectory from when you started to where you are now. And I think a lot of times people, and especially I must say in the business, I'm talking about casting directors and agents and managers. I don't think give enough credit to those of us who have started early and I identify as the creatives that we are, that
Mhm.
we're grown,
Very
we're
early.
Yeah,
different, we
Yeah.
evolve, just
yeah,
like yeah.
yeah.
So will you talk a little about that, like your trajectory from Baby I'm Back to Facts of Life to just being a
Sure.
working
Yeah.
actor at a young age and then as an adult? Whatever you want to say on it. I
Yeah.
mean,
I when I think about it, when I actually stop and put some brain cells on it, which honestly is not often because
same.
I'm about forward motion. It's not that I'm not grateful, and I do give thanks, as you know. I mean, just all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
But that sense of looking back as I am in forward motion, in trajectory mode, I feel like what has gotten me through the entire ride
So far.
so far with my sanity has been perspective um, and motivation. Meaning, number one, I didn't start out in this business because I wanted to be famous or rich, or because I was that little kid that wanted to be a performer.
Hmm.
Not at all. Super shy little kid. Shy grown ass woman.
Yes.
But
Same.
I very much so. God knows you. We all know you didn't start out doing. You were minding your business, and somebody thought you were amazing and snatched you up.
No,
So
but my point we didn't have a sign on our
right,
neck saying see me,
yes,
hire me.
Right.
Yeah.
yes,
A stage parent.
exactly. We weren't those kids.
Mm-mm.
We weren't those
Yeah.
kids. And even when we became a part of the fabric of that. When that became a part of our narrative, we still weren't those kids. And
Mm-hmm.
so we still were not raised by those kinds of parents.
Right.
Yep.
Our parents are not and were not and never will be stage parents.
Mm-mm.
They always remained parents who always parented their
Mm-hmm.
children.
Yeah.
And we were
They
not the heads of our households.
Exactly. And they weren't so enamored by what we did and who we knew and the money and
No.
all that. None of that. No, you gonna be a fine human being. That's what's
That's right.
gonna happen in this house.
Right.
and those are the households we were raised in. But in terms of the trajectory, I
Yeah.
also, especially once I got grown and or just more of a young adult into my grown woman, I never looked at it as I'm a star or I'm a celebrity. My only view of it was I'm a working actor, I'm a working
Hmm.
director, or
Hmm.
I ain't a working actor right now. I'm
I'm
a
familiar.
I'm a
Hmm.
student or whatever it may be, and so so understanding that that's a part of the life,
Hmm.
but that's not the life. And so that's also not what motivates me. And so I think that's what keeps the fire in my belly. That's what keeps me, on the roller coaster ride, because it is a trajectory, but sometimes that trajectory will drop down and then bring you back up. And
Well, and
so
I do
that,
have to say, it's one of the things I have appreciated our friendship over the years is that as often as we celebrate the successes of what's gone on for you and what you've created and manifested, if you want to call it that,
mhm,
um, you're also very, very ready to discuss the downfalls and the rejections and the low points, which
yeah,
is to me just a life well lived. Again, going back to that normalcy of like just being a human being.
yes,
Unfortunately, ours are public.
Right.
yes, yeah.
So it's, I just, I always say, well, that's why I have a cone backbone because I couldn't do it without being
That's
raised
one.
by the people that I was raised with
Yeah.
and developing that backbone. It has very little to do with anything else.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I just noticed that you have the same thing that pick yourself up. Dang, that was disappointing. All right. Oh,
Mm,
well, okay.
yeah.
Well, I
Yep.
was always
Um,
kind of taught that the lows are just as important as the highs. So,
Mm,
you can
mm-hmm.
celebrate the good times when you're at the peak because those are worth
Yeah.
celebrating. A lot of hard work went into them. But there's going to be times when that ebbs down or ebbs in a different direction and it doesn't feel as great. And you start to question, like,
yeah.
I mean, at least I do. Am I
Yeah.
doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? But, I think we've
Mm-hmm.
all learned so many times from falling on our faces that, don't wear those
Mm,
shoes next time because you can't walk so well in them, you know?
right.
Yeah. Well,
Well said.
unlike the rest of us, and I will say, Nancy had some success with the division, et cetera, but you really were the only one of the four of us. And, I worked just never at the level of success of Facts of Life right after, but you just popped right into living single. And I always wonder how that affected you because while talk about a surfing reference, I just, got off a wave, got on a wave, got off a wave. You kind of
Yeah.
kept riding very high.
Cowabunga. Yeah.
Did it feel like that or not?
No, it did not feel that way.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah, because the reality is when Facts of
Hmm.
Life, when we finished in, 88,
89.
89 to 89. Okay, yeah. So when we finished there, I finished up at Pepperdine.
Mhm.
Um, I created my talk show up
Mhm.
there. And then, there was, the occasional guest appearance here and there, but there were plenty of times where I thought either I was going to go into the junior executive program at NBC
Mhm.
and try to be a network exec because I wasn't working as an actor. And the real slap in the face slash inspiration came when Spike Lee, John Singleton, Julie Dash, when they all hit the scene in the early 90s.
Mhm.
And you had this wonderful, I can't even call it a resurgence, this surge of
Mhm.
black creatives out of New York and LA. But when I tell you they weren't checking for a bitch at all, at
Yeah,
all,
I was
at
with
all.
you.
And yeah, you were. And so, for me, for Malcolm, for Blair, it almost had that thing
Yeah.
of, well, they've had theirs, so let's give
Right.
others a
Right.
I
chance.
could see that.
They're good, they're fine, they're cool, they're famous already. Let's give other
Mhm.
people a chance, kind of thing. And because of the types of characters we played between Cosby, L.A. Law, Facts of Life, we were all considered, like the good black folks, kind of thing. And there was
Interesting.
this positive, almost bubblegum type images.
Right.
Um, and so, number one, that's how we started directing.
Mhm.
How we started taking roles, especially like with Blair when he did Just Cause and
Yes.
things where he was the bad guy, quote unquote. because we really had to work on those things. But there were plenty of long months of no work, no inspiration,
Yep.
reading, inspirational books cover to cover and magazines cover to cover, and still nothing. Where you go, okay, my money's all right, but now I'm done with college and ain't made that kind of money. So
Mm-hmm.
let's see if there's some coins in the couch cushions and just in case, and that
Yes.
sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it was so difficult, which is why the first thing you asked me is, what do people think that's just not true? I said,
Yes.
I ain't been through nothing. I have had my own sense of struggles.
Right.
Of
I
course.
have had those moments where you doubt and you think this, okay, that was it. Let me
Yes.
find
And well,
something.
I have to interrupt you and get on my high horse because you know what my misunderstanding is because we talk about it. I I am so taken aback how many people think you and I are sitting on what I call friends money or Seinfeld money. That people don't realize just because Facts of Life is still airing, and by golly, it is.
Hmm.
We do not get paid. We are not paid the residuals that people think that
Sure.
we do. So the fact that, I mean, this is when I go, toot our horns, toot toot,
Yeah.
is the fact that you and I have created the life that we have
Hmm.
started to become accustomed to
Right, right.
through working
Yeah.
is really, to me, my badge of honor. And
Hmm.
that most people don't really recognize that. They just think, well, if you don't want to work, that's your choice. And I love what you're sharing about, no, there's other factors in there, like the industry saying
Yeah.
you're this
Right.
and not that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that
Exactly.
it's not just your choice, but that you don't have to. Like either emotionally or
Right.
Right.
financially to survive. It's like, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
You're good. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the truth of the matter is, you have to, and Christian, you touched on this as well, you have to figure out for you what works for you
Right.
when you're going through
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
I keep threatening to write a book called How to Go Through When You're Going Through.
Please do.
Because,
Yes. Mine is
because
in the hallway.
right,
How to live in the hallway.
right. And you have to figure that out for yourself. You have to
Hmm.
figure out when you are not just at the low, because it is the you're in valley season.
Yeah.
And some people use that time to, self preserve and self care and do the mental checks and do all the great stuff that, yes, is very positive and helpful. But when you do all of that and you still ain't got no job, or you still ain't got no man or no woman or no love or no pet, no plant, you ain't got,
Right.
how do you get through those times, minute to minute, hour
Yeah.
to hour, day to day, month to month? Because you have to figure that out, what works for you in those times,
Hmm.
so that you don't go crazy. Going crazy is just, it's not an option, to lose your sanity, to
Yes.
lose your soul.
Right.
So you got to figure it out, baby. Go and volunteer. Go and get on somebody's something to be able to, number one, exercise your mind.
Yes.
That
And get
mind,
out of yourself.
and get out of yourself, get out of your way, get out of your creator's way,
Hmm.
and help somebody else. Because
Yes.
while you're doing that, then that's when your creator looks and goes, okay, they trust me enough to know they ain't got to look at me waiting like, what you doing? What you doing?
That's right.
They're helping one of my other kids right now.
Mhm.
So yeah, let me take care of this for them. That's
Yeah.
what I think anyway.
No, I ditto.
I love that.
I will ditto that.
Yay.
Okay, so answer the question why you did the season of Housewives of Atlanta.
So that was 2015, 2016.
Yes.
And I was on the verge of celebrating my 40th year in the industry.
Wow.
Yep.
I said to my team, let's just only look at uncharted waters. I'd been given some projects to look at, and I felt like it was characters I'd already played or playgrounds I'd already played in. And I just wanted that sense of, well, what haven't I done? New waters, uncharted waters, expect the unexpected. And if you really were paying attention, I used that hashtag all the time back then,
Mhm.
expect the unexpected, because that's what I wanted from myself, first and foremost, to keep it interesting, to keep it fresh. Because if you've been doing something for 40 years, if it ain't interesting or fresh to you, then it's just some bull. and you got to get out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not where I was. I love my industry. I love our industry and
Mhm.
all the different facets of it. And so it became, okay, well, what are uncharted waters? There's reality. Nah, not sure about that. There's competition. Nah, I'm highly competitive, so perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
There's sci-fi. There's dark graphic novels. There's this. So there's all kinds of genres. And so as we were looking at all the genres and projects that were coming in, creating projects,
Yeah.
wives came knocking, and we were like, y'all know you call Kim Fields, right? This is that Kim.
Mm-hmm.
And then and we said no twice.
I'm sure.
And asked the third time, and we talked about it with the family. I was like, well, you know what? It's definitely uncharted waters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we can do for a season and then go and do
Right.
all the other stuff that
So
we
you
did.
were not nervous to be Kim Fields on television?
I wasn't nervous about being Kim Fields on television. I had looked forward to it because, like we started out by talking about, people have very specific preconceived notions,
Yes, sure.
about me or my life. And because I'm somebody that they've seen since I was 7 years old,
Mm-hmm.
their personal spaces in their living rooms,
Right.
for the most part, and that they've spent money to go see, whether it's in a play or streaming something, whatever it may be. So that's the answer. Is it was uncharted waters that
Mm-hmm.
when you look at what came after that, then Dancing with the Stars again,
Yes.
uncharted waters.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was just the perfect storm at that time.
Did you regret
Yeah,
doing it,
well,
or
it-
do you think it actually worked to your
No,
advantage?
not at all.
She doesn't
Well, I
live
don't.
that way.
I don't live in regrets.
Good.
Mhm.
It wasn't about it being to my advantage or not. Did I achieve what I had set out to achieve in that based on what my motivation was? Oh, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And hopefully within the next 4 weeks or so, you will be back on the set of The Upshaws.
Yes. Amen
Yes.
and amen.
Congratulations on that, my love. I'm so absolutely thrilled for you.
Thank
It
you.
just seems like a really fun, great project.
It really is. Working with Mike Epps and Wanda Sykes has just been phenomenal. And working for Netflix, I mean, when you've worked for networks for as long as we have, and you've gotten to see how they run and who runs them and all that. And Netflix, I mean, they're just a game changer,
Mhm.
not just in terms of the content, but the people who are there, starting with Ted and, flowing on down to the executives and things. So it's just such a great company to work for. But that said, I'm also on hold as soon as they say, we can be back at work in Canada. I've got at least one, if not two, projects that I'm on tap to produce and direct and star in out there. So
Awesome.
looking forward to it. Yeah.
The best. Well, I love you. You know that. Thank you so
you.
much for gracing us with your presence on Mondays with Mindy.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be here as a guest and a sponsor.
Kim, we thank you very, very much. I mean, myself personally,
Yes,
I was a
kiss
long
the men
time
in your
fan.
life.
Like, this is,
For me.
it's so great to see you. It's so great to have you on the show, to hear your perspective. I think you really gave people a lot of perspective into the sort of business and into your life. So we appreciate that very much. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
it is our pleasure, and we thank very much Miss Kim Fields.
Thank you.
Just in time for the Santa Barbara train. I love it. I love it.
Personal trumpeteers.
Oh my God.
We
I mean,
planned
the
that.
timing
That
of
was
that
part of
is
the show.
such rock star status.
Absolutely, exactly. And
I
cue
love
the horn.
I love it.